Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to rank all the defensive badges and tiers in NBA 2K22 Next Gen for Season 5. So I hope y'all enjoy. If you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to notice, all good stuff, and like always, try to win 500 likes. As you can see, as always, we have the color of the text indicating the Season 4 ranking. So if it's purple, that means it was in the E tier for my Season 4. If it's blue, that means it was in the D. Now where I put it is going to be where we have it for Season 5. So like I said, that's how it always is. I know a lot of you guys know that, but new viewers, I just wanted to introduce you guys to that. And like I said, if you enjoy the content, feel free to check out other content as well, or just subscribe and wing it and just go with it and see what we drop. We do daily videos around here, so I hope y'all enjoy. Anyway, moving along, I have a lot to introduce you guys to with this list. I'm gonna let you guys know, I no longer have any F tier, E tier, or D tier defensive badges. I would like to say that I think defensive badges have been balanced really well. Like, I don't think there's any that are completely garbage. Now, the bottom three are probably the ones that I would say are the worst defensive badges, but I've come to appreciate them a little bit more as I've either seen them used in Pro-Am or ran on the 1v1 court or Pro-Am as well. Things like post-move lockdown and ball stripper being those especially that I'm talking about for 1v1 court and Pro-Am in particular, and off-ball pest for Pro-Am. People that aren't me, like as in I've seen my guards use it, or I've seen guys like Chalk when he plays Pro-Am. I've been watching some other teams as well. And him as a primary lockdown, not allowing the primary ball handler to even get the ball sometimes because the secondary can't even get it to him as he's literally just grabbing this dude. So anyway, again, we're going to reveal these one by one, or actually I'll just reveal them tier by tier. So we'll drop all of them into the C tier and explain to you guys why I feel like they all belong in the C. We'll talk about the B, A, and S from there. So I hope y'all enjoy it. We're going to get straight into that. Alright, so here's our look at the new C tier for Season 5, in my opinion, for defensive badges. We're looking at Menace, Taoist Defender, Off-Ball Pest, Ball Stripper, and Post-Move Lockdown. So, for post-lock, it does really good at stopping people from drop stepping, doing post spins, etc, etc. If you are a build like mine that has really low strength for being a 7-footer or a 6'10" or a 7'3" for that matter, I have less than 70 strength on all of my big man builds, and I typically rely on my badges to get me open, aka drop stepper. I think that works pretty good for mashing bigs, regardless of if it works or not. But here's the thing, post move lockdown counters that really well, and running into people who run that or to try and use post spin or anything like that, it gets really destroyed by people running post move lockdown. So is it a really valuable badge in most situations? Like for Pro-Am, people don't really ever hit post moves when it comes to comp stuff. For Rec, I do understand though, and I've seen from your guys' perspective, some people do constantly use the drop steps very consistently. So for you to run things like post move lockdown and ball stripper, or to run Pogo Stick especially as well, is a huge advantage and bonus for you playing into your defense. So I understand fully now, and I've played a whole lot of different game modes, and at the end of the day, that's what this list consists of, is me taking all of my experience from multiple different game modes, every single thing, 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, comp, Pro-Am, rec, etc, all that stuff. It all factors into this list, and I gotta say, I need to give post move lockdown a little bit more credit than I ever have. Again, same thing with off-ball pest. Like I said, I was watching Chalk use this to an absolute T. I didn't think that it deserved to be so high. He had it on a Hall of Fame, and I was like, yo, that's crazy. This man is skipping out a lot of primary and key defensive badges, but I see why. He's trying to keep it out of the primary point guard's hands, and it makes it a hard time when you're denying that guy and not switching anything off reps. I will say though, it's a very particular play style for a lockdown to be able to run this. I don't think most people should have it more than bronze or silver, and it definitely works good for the corner too. So if you're a guard out there who's trying not to get backdoored quite as much, I think having this on bronze or silver works really well. The highest ability you can at that point, I think, is really good. But again, not everybody can really afford to do that. Depends on your defensive attributes. But anyway, moving along, we have Ball Stripper. Once again, another badge that's really good for small guards who are trying to guard the corner in Pro-Am. And you guys have noticed, this channel is turning into a little bit more of a Pro-Am community and Pro-Am channel than it is like Park and stuff, or Stage and just 3v3, 2v2 like it was in the early part of this year. So a lot of my stuff is kind of transitioning to a Pro-Am point of view, because that's a lot of what I'm playing. But most of all, I just want to let you guys know, if you're a smaller guard out here who has really high steal rating, but you don't have any block rating or interior defense rating, Ball Stripper is an absolute essential badge. I mean, it's the only thing that's going to get you steals on paint takes. And for 1v1 court as well, it's really tough as a big man sometimes when the person that's defending you has Hall of Fame Ball Stripper or gold or something really high with good steal rating. you have to be very strategic in the times that you go up with your dunk or layup, and just really watch the guard's hands. As he's swiping down, you got to make sure you are not going up for it while that's happening, because you will get stripped 100%, especially if you're not running unstrippable. Moving along, we have Menace. I do want to let you guys know this is the one badge that someone has mentioned very recently, and I haven't really given it the time of day. It was on my 1v1 court video where I played the dude who averages like 20.5 points per game and has a 92 win percent. And long story short, they were telling me Menace feels very buffed. I personally was running it in that video on gold and I didn't feel very good about it, but they were pretty much making the case for this. When it's on, it slows people's dribble moves down like crazy. I don't think it's extremely noticeable though, personally, from my perspective. I will say though, it makes a lot of sense for that to be the case. I mean, the whole point of Menace is to drop people's offensive attributes if you're guarding them closely. So for the sake of like face guarding them, maybe it makes people a little bit harder to get their combos off or just dribble in general, and it makes sense for that to be the reason. And overall, I don't think Menace is a complete garbage badge. I do think though you could make the case for this being the worst defensive badge in the game still, but that's not saying a whole lot because like I said, there's a lot of good defensive badges in this game, and most of all, there's just not a lot of bad ones. You could also make the case for Taoist Defender being the worst defensive badge. I think it's just bottom of the C tier at this point, and truth be told about it, yes, I do think running this on a high level makes it so you get better animations sometimes of just getting chase down blocks or just playing better defense in general. But I don't think if you run Gatorade and stuff like that, like if you're playing Comp Pro Am, if you're running Gatorade, if you have your workouts done and stuff like that, or even if you don't have your Gatorade and you just have your workouts done with a high stamina rating, you don't end up super tired on defense too often, and running it on bronze or silver is plenty enough. Also, for most builds, running it on bronze or silver only costs you 1 or 2 defensive badge points. If you go to gold, for most builds it costs 4, and then for Hall of Fame, most builds it costs 6. So it's just not really in the budget sense, if you ask me, to run anything higher than bronze or silver, and that's how I see it. And it's just kind of an accessory badge. It's good to have, but it's not a really essential or key badge, and again, it's not really something I would run at a super high level. Alright, so in a tier slightly ahead of all the badges that we've talked about so far are going to be Defensive Leader, Pick Dodger, and Pickpocket. Now once again, my perspective has changed a little bit in the direction of Pro-Am, and naturally, the more people that are on the court, the more defensive leader is going to be important. That's just how it goes. If it's 2v2, this is probably like a D tier badge. If it's 3v3, it's probably a C tier badge. If it's 5v5, I think this is debatably an A tier or B tier badge, or you could even maybe make the case that someone needs to run this on your team. So it might even just be an S tier badge for just Pro-Am, strictly Pro-Am. But all things considered, I wanted to kind of average this out amongst all the like courts that you can play on. So like for 1v1 court, this is obviously an F tier badge. For 2v2, like I said, probably like a D, 3v3 C, and then for 5v5, probably an A or an S. So overall, it's all just kind of averaged out to like a B or something like that. But definitely if you're talking fives, someone on the court has to have this if you're playing competitive team Pro-Am. If you're playing rec though, people play pretty selfish. It's understandable that nobody wants to spend 6 of their own defensive badges to run Hall of Fame defensive leader, or for that matter, some people can't even have the badge. But again, someone should definitely have this on at least gold on every Pro-Am or rec team. That's how I feel. It's just going to be boosting everybody's defensive ratings by 3, and that's very convenient. Think about it. I mean, you're boosting a total of 4 extra people, all their ratings by 3. You're boosting people's defensive ratings as a total by 12 if you're talking like you supplying it for 4 of your teammates. So it's just something to think about. Definitely have it somewhere on the court, and probably ideally the least important defensive person on the court. For us, our guard runs it on silver as he's just guarding corner, and it's a nice little 3 defensive badge points he can put in to give us all a +2 boost to our defensive ratings, and all the key defensive people don't have to run defensive leader. It's kind of just simple like that. But anyway, moving along to some on-ball defensive badges, we have Pick Dodger and Pickpocket. So these are going to be staying in the B tier. I was thinking about maybe moving Pickpocket down to C, but seeing a lot of elite defensive players like 99 steal and Hall of Fame Pickpocket, and just in general having like lock takeover and stuff like that, it definitely can still go crazy. It's very specific in the type of people that need to run this or can utilize this badge. Again, it's for the really high defensive rating people. Ideally, probably the glitch 6'7" that gets 99 steal and 98 perimeter defense. That can be really a tough scene to play against, and it's definitely the best lock build in the game as far as like a pure lock and fighting through screens and being fast, and just the perfect Pro-Am lockdown build. Ideally 6'5" is the fastest, but obviously it's not exactly the best in Pro-Am. I think it's still really good though, but it's hard to be a pure lock at 6'5". I mean, you can't do all the finer things like still holding your own on box outs if you get switched on to the big, stuff like that. So overall, we're here to just talk about Pickpocket and Pick Dodger. Like I said, I think Pickpocket is definitely something that you need to have on a high defensive level build, one that gets really high steal and really high perimeter defense. But other than that, I don't think you can really make a case for running this if you have less than 90 steal rating. I think it's just a complete waste at that point. But anyway, moving along to Pick Dodger. It's very essential in Pro-Am. I mean, you have to have this. You're fighting through screens. Now, some people hate the way that it's worked or the way that it is used and stuff like that, but I feel like it's right in the perfect spot. I think if you made Pick Dodger way better or Brick Wall worse, then you're going to see an area of the game where you just don't really, there's no point in running screens. There's already, I would say, the meta in terms of like stage guards or people that can't have the IQ to use pick and roll instead of ISO. They just run two-man all game and they don't even set screens. They just literally have guards wrap across each other's face and ISO the whole game. And it's so dominant, and I really don't think you can make the case that screens are overpowered in Pro-Am. I don't think that's really that big a deal. I think the guard's movement is definitely the harder thing to deal with than a screen impeding your movement on defense. But anyway, again, Pick Dodger, it's very decent. It's not an elite defensive badge. It's not going to carry you and absolutely nullify every screen that's ever going to be set on you, but it's necessary. You have to have this if fighting through screens. If you don't have it, you're going to get caught on a lot of picks, and your big man's going to be stepping out full. And if you don't have the versatility to switch back to that center and be on that backside and switch off the guard and stuff like that, then you're going to be looking stupid. I mean, you just have to have this badge at a decent level if you're playing on-ball lockdown. All right, so next up, we have our A tier for the defensive badges. We have Interceptor, a lot of these, by the way. This is by far the biggest tier that we have for this whole list. So we have Interceptor, Box, Worm, that were originally B tier badges and move up to the A. We have Ankle Braces and Pogo Stick that were already A tier badges and are staying. And then we have Intimidator, Clamps, and Hustler moving down from the S to the A. Now, this is not me saying Intimidator has become a worse defensive badge than it was at one point. This is just me kind of separating this and saying that I think badges like Chasedown, Rim Protector, Rebound Chaser, and Brick Wall are better defensive badges, significantly and more visibly better than, say, Intimidator, Clamps, Hustler, and definitely better than ones like Ankle Braces, Pogo Stick, Interceptor, Box, and Worm. So anyway, we have a lot of defensive badges to talk about right here. We're going to get to them pretty quickly. So Interceptor, I think I overreacted to the passing lanes patch. It was a pretty noticeable thing, but you can still see people are playing lanes pretty well. If you're in the right spot and you have Interceptor at a decent level and a good steal rating, you're getting the steals that you should be most times. Now, they do still fly past your head occasionally. I think 2K might have low-key mini buffed this badge a little bit because they saw people overreacting and like how I was, honestly. I mean, I thought I was still giving this badge some love for having it in the B tier. It probably belonged in the C, to be honest, at the time. But anyway, I think it's right back to where it belongs. I think passing lanes are in a good spot for this game right now. Interceptor, A tier badge. I want to talk about Box and Worm though. So with me getting on a 7'3" center and really seeing the finer things about this, I want to tell you guys this much too. Run Box Out Wall as your takeover if you're playing fives. Do not run See the Future, run Box Out Wall. The significance of just how much it amplifies Worm and Box is crazy. Even when you don't have the takeover active, I think it's just kind of some ghost thing where it just works better and it makes it so Worm and Box perform better just by you having that takeover on. And then when you do activate the takeover, Worm goes crazy, bro, with Box Out Wall. You absolutely just shove everybody out of the way and there's nothing you can do about it. I even actually, I don't have this clip, but I have this memory and I'll tell you guys this much. I had Box Out Wall on, and the person that I was going against had Box Out Wall on as well. And I, on offense, boxed him out, and he wormed me out of the way and got the rebound. Now, I know it's so stupid, right? Because you're like, well, that's the whole point of the badge. It's the whole point of the takeover is that you get good box outs. But it also, like I said, strengthens your ability to worm people. And that was tough, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, the fact that I had my glass takeover on and still got wormed was crazy. So I just want to let you guys know that the ability of worming people when you have Box Out Wall on is insane, and I highly recommend trying the takeover out if you haven't already. But again, Worm, really good badge. I think I've been sleeping on it for the most part. You have to be tall though. You have to have strength. You have to be tall. You have to be stronger than the person that you're going against for the most part. It can still work in some situations, but it definitely needs to be something where you have strength a little bit higher than the person you're going against. For me, most situations though, when I'm worming people, it's definitely the 6'9" metrics and stuff like that didn't even upgrade strength. So it all works out kind of decent. I don't think you'll ever see very many situations, unless it's with the takeover with Box Out Wall that I'm talking about, where you'll see 7'3s worming other 7'3s, unless the other dude has like 95 strength or something like that. But anyway, Worm and Box, pretty solid badges. They both counter each other, obviously. Box out, obviously, is insisted with box. But anyway, you get the deal. I think they're both really good badges. I think they belong in the A tier. I've been sleeping on them a little bit, and they're more necessary than I give them credit for, especially box as well. I used to sit here and be like, oh, you can get away with this on bronze. You can get away with this on gold. Nah, bro. I definitely run this on Hall of Fame now with the 7'3", and you have to secure those box outs, bro. It's so important for Pro-Am. So anyway, moving along. We have a couple on-ball defensive badges. We'll talk about ankle braces, Intimidator, and clamps. So I think clamps is a little bit overrated, to be honest with you guys. I still think it's a good defensive badge, but overrated as in people think this is one of the best defensive badges in the game. I don't think so, honestly. I mean, it's still really nice to have for an on-ball lockdown defender, but tell me how many times you've really walled people off or stonewalled them or forced their pickup for that matter. In Pro-Am, you're going to be seeing people with 99 ball handle or at least 93 in every situation in every setting you're playing in, and for that matter, probably rec too. So I just don't think you get enough like forced pickups for this to be an actually good badge, and you don't get like cutoffs that much either. I feel like I even come out here on the 6'10" playing on-ball defense at the 1v1 court, and I feel no different than I do versus a 6'9", and my perimeter defense is way lower. I don't have clamps at all versus having it on gold on the 6'9", and just overall, I don't even think I noticed clamps all that much, but I can't completely disrespect the badge. I mean, I'm talking down on it quite a bit, but it's still in the A tier for a reason. It's still a good defensive badge, but I think people gas this up way too much in my personal opinion. And then for Intimidator, I think this is probably the best A tier badge that I have. It was the closest one to being still in the S tier. I just had to knock this down though. I don't think it's quite as good as these 4 badges right here, and we might as well just move them, to be honest with you. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. Intimidator, I think it's still a really good badge on the interior and the perimeter to have. Now, as far as the impact it makes, I think it's definitely the impact is more noticeable on the perimeter. On the interior, it's kind of all about positioning and height, if you ask me, and interior defense rating, rather than having Intimidator high. But either way, it's still a really good badge to have. I don't know why it's tied to block, though. I feel like this should really be tied to interior and perimeter defense in, like, kind of both of them to an extent, now that it actually affects both sides of it as far as perimeter and interior D. At first, it was just interior defense, and again, I don't know why it's tied to block rating. I think that's kind of stupid, but either way, again, Intimidator, pretty solid badge overall to have. Just from both perspectives. If you're a lock or you're a hedge guy, you got to have this at the highest level. It's just as simple as that. Now, speaking of locks, you got to have ankle braces at the highest level as well. Now, here's the thing about it. It's so essential because tight handles is an absolute cancer to everything you'll ever do when it comes to playing as a lockdown. You can play perfect defense, and then what happens? You get stunned, and now you're out of the play. And now you have to switch over to somebody else because if you chase too hard, you're going to just end up out of the play and you're screwing your team over. And tight handles is just so tough to go against, and you need ankle braces to counter that. Yes, it does counter tight handles. It's not only for countering ankle breakers, in case anybody was curious about that, but yeah, it's just, it doesn't 100% counter it. Even if you have Hall of Fame ankle braces on, it just doesn't 100% counter it. So it's just a tough scene. But again, very good badge. You definitely need this if you're playing on the lockdown. Even as a hedge guy, sometimes you even still get stunned. So if you can run this on at least like silver, maybe as a hedge guy, or if gold only costs you 3, I would definitely recommend that as well. But it's pretty rare that that'll be a situation, I think. But anyway, again, ankle braces, pretty good badge overall. Pogo Stick. This is a debatable badge for 2 positions in Pro-Am. It's going to be backside playing the hedge, and maybe you could run this. I think it protects you a little bit more from the 7'3s because there's no way you're getting contest by just playing hands up D on a 7'3 or a 7'2 with a 6'9 backside hedge guy. But what you can do is just constantly jump, or not even just constantly jump, but you can jump what you think is the right times, and maybe you can get a second jump if they do hit you with the pump fake. It's not going to be a game-saving badge in those situations, but it is nice to have. Now, another situation that it works for is the role that I've been playing recently, where you can play corner and you drop down, and if you're stack or triangle, the rotation that you run, whether it's off the weak side or strong side, is quick enough. If the rotation is quick enough and you get down there before the center gets down there, you can be in position and wait out the mash, wait for him to pump fake and all types of stuff like that. And then when you go up for the jump, even if you're wrong, again, Pogo Stick will help you in those situations. But what it's not good for is for you flying in off the corner on a late rotation. You have to go for a lunging, like running jump, and then you expect to be able to just jump again. I think you need to be in position, and it needs to be exactly what a Pogo Stick is. Bouncing up and down, and you can't be like running first. You have to be just in position and jump up and down. Simple as that. So anyway, Next up, Hustler. I think this is also a really good defensive badge. Like I said, it belongs in the A tier for a reason. It's just I was maybe gassing this a little bit much to put it in the S tier. It's pretty simple as that, right? This is when tip passes were happening a lot off of interceptions, what should be passing lanes as far as like what should be interceptions, but they ended up just being tip passes, and it helped you track them down. It was kind of a 3v3 perception that I had this based on as well, and it still works really good for all courts, 2v2, 3v3, especially 1v1 court too. Do not sleep on this because you still have to track down every rebound off of someone's missed shot, and Hustler 100% helps you with that because you're only racing the one person you're playing against. But again, for Pro-Am, it's really good to have as well. This actually, in my opinion, works on fast break as well. So when a shot goes up, if you're getting back on the break or taking off on the break, then this still benefits you as well. That's my personal opinion. That's what I've seen from it. And I made a video talking about Hustler as well, if you want to check that out on the 2v2 court. But anyway, moving along to the S tier badges. We've got Brick Wall, which is ironically more of an offensive badge, and it's poetic justice that this super offensive game, one of the S tier badges all year, has actually been an offensive badge for that matter. And Rebound Chaser, you can make the case, is also an offensive badge as well. But anyway, the two actual defensive ones, then we have Rim Protector and Chasedown that deal with shot blocking and just in general chasing people down. And to talk about these two at the same time, first of all, Rim Protector gives you takeover boost for getting blocks. It's nice to have, especially if you run Rim Takeover on any of your builds or anything like that, whether you're the hedge defender or the corner defender, or just in general if you're playing lock in 3v3, 2v2, whatever the case may be. If you run Rim Protector, you get more takeover off getting a block. It also helps you just block people in general. Chasedown, obviously, paired with that, is going to help you coming off the corner for those swat blocks off the corner, helping as the hedge defender trying to get back to the guy in the paint and go for that chase down, or just in general, if the guard rim runs you and you try and go for the chase down on that. Now that one is the harder one because of quick drops when most guards just run that, and it's hard to really get that chase down. But either way, it's still an S tier badge for Chasedown and Rim Protector. They're by far two of the best defensive badges in the game. I don't think it really needs more debate than that, to be honest with you. I think it's just kind of set in stone, and they're probably going to stay here for as long as the game is played. So next up we have Rebound Chaser. This right here is so elite, bro. I mean, it's just such a given. You have to have this on the highest level if you're a center. It's still even nice to have on anybody who's a lock build or anything like that too, because what we're noticing as well is some people will crash offensive rebounds as well out the corner. So what I've noticed even more is that people are crashing off of the guard. So when we have AK guarding a defensive corner, right, and he's on defense, he's guarding a corner, people will crash O-board out of his corner and make it even tougher for me to get the defensive rebound. And it's so tough. And Rebound Chaser is so elite when it comes to that as well. And if you have it on at least like silver or gold when it's a role like that, it's really nice to have. If you are the big man, you have to have this on Hall of Fame if you're trying to be elite with the rebounding. Being on gold, it's still doable. I was doing it for a long time and really not getting completely destroyed on rebounds. I would like to think I was still competing with a 6'10" and a 7-footer with gold Rebound Chaser as the center. But it just isn't exactly ideal. You definitely want to have 99 on some rebound rating and have Hall of Fame Rebound Chaser. It's really just as simple as that, to be honest with you. But anyway, moving along, we have Brick Wall. Once again, offensive badge, in my opinion. It actually still works on defense, though. It prevents people from backing you down. So again, this resists backdowns. It's not post-move lockdown, though, where it stops drop steps or post spins or anything like that. But the power backdowns, Brick Wall counters that. So it's nice to bail you out on a build that maybe has lower strength as a center, and when you run Hall of Fame Brick Wall, it definitely helps you in that sense, 100%. And then on top of that too, like I said, the offensive use of it clearly is for screen setting, and it's really just as simple as that, right? So we all know how good the screens are, but again, it's not game-changingly like dominant. It's just I have it in the S tier because it supports the playstyle of most people on Pro-Am. Not exactly 3v3 though. Not many people really run screens on threes, and if they do, it's just to get one mismatch and get out the way. 2v2, nobody runs screens. I've noticed that. And then obviously Brick Wall is a little bit minimal use when it comes to 1v1 cores. So it's debatable. I guess you could make the case that I'm biased because I'm talking about defensive leader is something where it gets weighed down by its uselessness on 1v1 court, but it's so good on 5v5, yet I'm averaging those. Meanwhile, with Brick Wall, I'm not countering that point where I'm talking about 1v1 court being almost useless, and 2v2, not many people use it, and 3v3, it's not exactly even the most important badge either. But either way, you guys get what I'm saying. It's such a good badge to run for people who run pick and roll, and again, resist backdowns at the same time as well. So I don't see how you could really take it out of the S tier. I think it's the worst S tier badge on the list though. It's the closest to A tier of any of these four right here. But anyway, that's all video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, for to drop a like, sub if you're new, tell them noties, all that good stuff. And like always, try to 500 likes. If you made it to the end of the video, put D or defense in the comments. Short Sports Man all the way through. And like I said, I appreciate you guys have been enjoying the Pro-Am content a lot. We're going to be sticking to it for a lot of the next probably like month or two, or 3 or 4 for that matter. As long as you guys are enjoying it, we're probably going to make it a consistent mainstay in the channel's content. So anyway, that's all for the vid. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, if you did, for to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on the noties, yada yada, all that good stuff. You guys get the deal. Leave the comment and see if you can remember it without me even telling you. But anyway, that's all for the vid. Hope you all enjoyed. Other than that, take it easy, man. Peace.